Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
Although, I mean, even Nate uses an iPhone, so I can't hate too much. So,
yeah,
it's one of the best lines that he has is when he's talking about, I'm listening to How Could You Leave Us on my speakers on my iPhone, like, you know, crying in the bathroom and all that. Like, if that's not some of the most raw stuff that you can, you know, say about him, where it's like his own song and he's like channeling it and just listening to it and still feeling the pain from it. It's not artificial to him. It never is, you know.
I think the reason that it probably still hits him hard, number one, it is about something that, you know, is rough or whatever, but even at that, like, he makes art and he does it well, so it even moves him, and that's pretty incredible, man. Like, his lyrics are heavy and for a good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I put him up there with at least top 5 of lyricists of all time.
Yeah.
Like, as far as like his wordplay and like what he says, how he uses words, like, he is pretty incredible, man.
On March 8th, 2022, the very first NF reaction was posted on Riker Road. I don't remember a lot about the leading up to it. I can't remember if it was even a patron request or whatever, but Kay, who has been our main squeeze through the entire NF journey, she sent us every bit of information that we needed and prefaced it before we had even reacted to him. And she's like, look, if you're going to do this, this is the dedication it's going to be.
Yeah.
And this is the road you're going to go down. Choose it wisely, essentially. And I was wrong on the live stream. It was When I Grow Up. And I remember watching that video, and the second that it started up and the little kids were talking, like, you know, when I grow up, I want to be a police officer. When I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian, you know, and then that little kid, when I grow up, I want to be a wapper. Like, he's got the ripped jeans and everything. Like, I remember that really like caught me off guard, because like, it was like, okay, like, listen to NF. Well, who is this guy? Like, why should I care? Like, you know, he's just another white boy rapper, like, you know, whatever. Like, he's not going to do anything crazy. Like, that was my first thought. I was like, all right, we'll probably listen to a couple of his songs, you know, and then we'll go do the rest of the stuff that we were doing. Cause I think that we were pretty big into falling in reverse at that time with the reaction videos and such. So yeah. I
mean, it was one of those things when NF, when he came about, I'd heard of him. I'd heard the name. I was like, okay, whatever. Cause I think at one point in time, him and Logic were like touring together, but that was really it. Like, that was the only way I really knew him, from a few people that were saying his name. And I didn't really like pay attention to it.
Right.
His videos always looked cool, but I never clicked. So, but it kind of worked, because here we are, you know?
Well, what's interesting is that we did When I Grow Up, and the second that music video hit him, it turned in, oh my God, the shot turned into him in the club with the two people.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no editing on here. And you just see the two people, and you're like, oh man, this poor bastard. Like, oh, this is bad. Like, it's like trying to do a comedy club where there's one person just standing there, just like flicking you off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and the second that the beat hit and the entire crowd appears and they're all just chanting the same thing with him. And it's just, that was the moment that I knew, okay, there's something happening here. There's something that we don't know about. Like, cause I think the way we even said it was like, wow, look at where he is now. Like, when I grow up, this is all I want to be, you know, and that, main thing that I've said on the channel so many times of him just being like, nah, dude, like, listen to me. Like, anybody want to hear me rap? Like, I'm really good at this, man. Like, let me show you my CDs. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like, whatever. And the next one we did was The Search.
Yes.
And there was a gentleman that commented on it, and he definitely needs to be incarnated on the podcast, because this was so true. And Eric Gonzalez, if you do watch this, you commented this a year ago. And he said, strap on, boys. NF will change your life. He will be your top 5 artist ever. He will also change your channel and get so much support. Seeing new NF fans is the best. And I can genuinely say that everything that Eric Gonzalez said is 110% true. We have a lot to get into tonight, and there's so many cool things that we can talk about. Yeah. I think that the problem probably is going to be to not talk too much.
Sure.
You know, to the point of when we run out of disk space or whatever. Like, man, my question for you is this, is that you're a hip hop head. You've been listening to hip hop pretty much almost like for the like big majority of your life.
Correct.
You know, and you know, it's like you understand the different types, you know what you like, you know what you don't like. Really, truthfully, what was your first impression of NF?
So my very first impression with NF with when I grow up, it was good. It was really good. I wasn't sure how well it was going to go after that. Not like for the show. I mean, like for me personally, like if I was going to like this, you know, knowing that he was a clean rapper and that, you know, he was maybe more, not necessarily a Christian rapper, but, you know, like he had all these things. And I was like, man, like, what can you really do with this? And wow, he blew me away. The Search is when I went, okay, okay, this is
where'd the beat go? Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also when we heard Real, like it was just, I was like, wow, this dude is hard.
Yeah.
And then I kept going, man, his lyrics are solid. And like, what a way to like, you know, say something like that, or like, how come nobody else talks about this, or like whatever. Like, it was quite interesting. And I was really, really intrigued because I didn't think you could do that. I didn't think you could be clean, but so gangster and hard and dirty at the same time. Like he is very adult, but he doesn't swear.
Now, isn't it interesting? Because I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think that when I listen to NF, I don't miss the swearing.
No,
it's almost like the things that he says are more impactful than profanity, which I know is kind of weird because we did just talk about, you know, the idea that profanity helps a movie, like with, you know, instances of like people speaking and stuff. But I think that the way that NF writes is so unique. Well, it's so interesting.
But you just said it's the way you write. So the fact that there are, I'm sorry, there are certain movies and certain things that just don't hit right when the swearing isn't there. NF's never swore like that, so it doesn't matter. You've never heard him do it, number one. Number two, it's how he goes about it. So yes, the way he writes, he doesn't need to. He finds the other route without saying fuck or whatever it might be to make it just as hard or like, ooh, you know, because the swear words sometimes give it that like, oh, you know, like they really mean that, or like whatever it is. Like, it's almost like the emphasis because of what it is. He does it on different words. And I think it opens up a different vocabulary for him and other people to step their game up, because you can't just set filler words like motherfucker and, you know, bitch or whatever, like all of these words that are, you know, kind of become filler. Right. And it's very interesting for an artist to be able to like challenge himself, I guess. Yeah. So that was my biggest thing, is like, dude, I wasn't sure, but the more and more I got into it, man, he was just like, whoa, how do you keep doing this? It was amazing.
Yeah. His music is just, I have found myself almost being a little more impacted by his music than other things I've listened to. Like, trust me, I've listened to some very hard stuff, and not just, you know, musically, but also emotionally. And like, you know, like, I mean, my God, like I grew up, you know, listening to Eminem and listening to Kim and like, you know, all these other like crazy songs and stuff. Like, sure, there was some comedy in some of those things, but for the most part, it was Eminem like ripping apart your mind and just like doing all this stuff. I mean, it's a good analogy with NF or whatever, but even with Slipknot, and like, you know, the fact that there's lyrics that like I won't even repeat on the internet, you know, like just because of like the violent nature of them. And it's so interesting that NF is so clean. He is positive even in the times that when he is being dark and when he's doing those things. And I got to say that the one thing that really, I think, threw everybody for a loop as reactors on YouTube was Therapy Session, when the whole, like the tweet that was sent to him was like, I'll slaughter your family. Yeah. And it's like, bro, like, what is your deal? Like, why do you hate this guy? Like, what did he do that you feel that killing him and his family is so important? Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah, I was really unsure, like, why things like that were being said, or like what he was being compared to, or like, you know, that he was, you know, giving a bad influence on children. And so I was like,
yeah, my music is violent.
Are we listening to the same artist and the same albums? Because I don't think we are. When you you can't even twist his words around to make it sound like that. I really didn't understand that. And then yes, the whole kill his family, like, bro, what is your deal?
Right.
And it's like nobody in this world can do something good and positive without somebody just trying to rain on their parade, man.
Of course.
You know, like, so that really did baffle me with that. I was just like, wow, well, I mean, I guess he made it because he's got haters. Right. So, you know,
that's always the one thing, because even like I think the first time that we got a hater comment, I was like, I was so excited. I'm like, Eric, look what happened. Not everybody likes us. It's good. So, however, now understand, guys, this is not going to be a review of the journey, but the journey is a big part of how we grew to know NF.
Yes.
And not only just the fact that we got to listen to so many songs, but we reacted to them. Like, we had to make sure that the 2 songs a week that we did were just blowing through NF.
Yes.
And what's nuts to me is that we technically blew through it very, very quickly. But I mean, the grand scheme of the channel, like with how much it's grown and how everything has happened, is only, I think as we said, like maybe last night, what was it, 18 months or something as a, like, for music?
As like an actual music channel. Yeah.
Right. And NF has just, man, like it's one of those that I feel like we're so deep into it that it's just like, I feel like I've been doing it for 10 years. Like, there's been so much.
In a good way, but yes.
Right. And it's starting with intro. The very first time that we dove into that one, I understood that this was going to be good. I knew that we were going to do this, but as we've said before, there are just nights that we just do not want to record.
Right.
And that was one of them. And I'm like, I got to fake my way through this reaction, because I was not in a good mood or whatever. And the second that the imagery started happening, like the caution tape is like all wrapped, like he looks like a mummy, or like he's out in the street, like, just, dropping his bars and like really setting the bar for what Mansion is. And as of now, we did go through the entirety of Mansion. We've been able to see the whole deal. But at the time, we only had the select like 5 or 7 songs that we went through on there. Yep. And we get through intro, and mind you, at that point, I think it was 3 NF songs, and it was like, okay, like, let's see what's going on here. And Mansion was the next one.
Yeah.
And there was no music video, which I was really bummed about, but that was kind of the first time that I really felt myself not relying on imagery and relying on, trying to look at lyrics or anything like that. Like, the man just spoke to me, and he was saying things that, like, dude, like, that was one of the worst times of my life. And when he was saying, like, he's like, oh, this room is full of regrets and everything. And he's like, it's hard to look past because this is the room where I sleep. And like, for some reason, dude, that one just, it got me, man. Like, it was just, that was so intense. Mansion, I think, was the really big turning point for Nate, because beforehand he was doing more Christian music and was doing all like these like features, writing songs and stuff. And Mansion was the first time that, like, he kind of had the director approach. He did all those things for them. Now it's time to do one for me. And this is what I'm going to do. And I don't know, like, what do you remember about your first time reacting to Mansion? Because that to me was when I knew we were about to get into something that we were not prepared for.
I think that you're right. That is when I knew that this dude had more than just, hard bars and theatrical beats and stuff like that. Like, this guy had something to where he was pulling at strings that I didn't know you were allowed to do as a rapper.
Yeah.
As or even just as a musician, I guess, like, in general, because the way he tells a story, I sit there and think, who else could do this? Very few people in the world. And look what he's choosing to talk about.
Yeah.
The whole mental health thing, the mom thing, the drugs, the abuse, like all this, like, he has gone through so many different things that so many people have gone through in their life. And he, like I said before, he's that, like, voice that nobody knows how to say or speak or, even just start to go about. He makes people feel like they're not alone.
Yeah.
And Mansion, I think, is, at least for us, started that, like, kind of like outlook on Nate as what he could do.
100%. Yeah. It's
little ramble there. Like,
no, it's legit, man, because think about it. On the next songs that we had was All I Have, Notepad, which, like, we really got to hear him talk about, like, the karaoke machine that he used to, listen to, and that he would play beats through. Like, I love hearing him talk about where he's like, nah, dude, I listened to Eminem. I listened to the Eminem Show or whatever album it was. And I listened to all of it. I learned everything I wanted to do with my craft. Like, it's insane how much Mansion really, like, there is so much heart, even though it kind of has that analog kind of old sound.
Sure.
It still holds up. Like, even when we got to go back through it after we went through the journey and finally got to listen to Face It, and my God, Wait. and like, you know, all these other songs and stuff. Like, it's just, Mansion truly is a beautiful album, which I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't dig the majority of the songs on that one, which was kind of shocking for me.
Yeah, I don't understand, but I mean, to each their own,
right?
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, there's some funny stuff about Hope that people have been saying, which we'll get to that when we get to that point. But no. So Mansion was kind of like when we got done with that. And I was like, okay, wow, like this was really powerful. Like, you know, hearing him say like, man, this is all I have. Like, this is my therapy. This is my thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we actually get into therapy session. And that's when he starts talking about fans and self-harm. And when he full frontal just dives into the subject of his mom. And like, I think that we said it before where it's like, you know, he would sing, "How Could You Leave Us Live?" And I think it was you that said, where it's like, dude, like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, it's like, let it just be on the, I mean, if you want to perform it, sure. But like, dude, like,
why would you, why do you do that to yourself?
It's like, dude, like, you ain't got nothing to prove to us, man. You did the emotional thing, but it's the fact that he still, every like night when he would tour on that album, would just lay his heart out on the stage. That's so powerful. It's so huge.
I think that's probably why is that it's stuff like that for his fans if they're sitting there, you know, in the crowd or whatever, like they want to hear those songs too, because it is emotional for them. That's why they're there. You know, NF has so many different feelings that you can go through in an album, and when you can go through all of that live, that is awesome. But yes, dude, if you just like can't do that one, you can't do that one.
No.
And I think your fans would understand, but I also sit there and try to think of it from Nate's point where it's like, nope, you know, this is part of it. This is part of the experience. This is part of the, you know, whatever, the tour, but it's just, he is committed. He is 100% committed to his craft, to his fans, to everything. And it shows. Yeah. It really does.
Going through that, we have songs like "I Just Want to Know," and you know, it's like that one I think really hit both of us at probably the worst times of when we were the most vulnerable. And man, like what I found was that Nate has this beautiful ability that he can take a song that should quote unquote be a boo fest, of where it's like, oh, this is just depressing, or like this is that. But like what he does is that "I Just Want to Know" is probably one of my favorite beats that him and Tommy ever worked on. Like,
really,
dude, it's just that just that like, you know, synth in the background, and just it's got this driving nature to it. Like, it's a song that I turn on when I work. It's a song that I turn on when I want to feel something and I need to get emotion out and like say certain things. And the video itself, like, I don't know if it's just the director in me, but like when the moment where he's rapping and he's still like trapped in the car and he's like rapping and in pain. And like it only cuts to it for a second, but then it's like, dude, like that was the moment. I don't know if you can see it in my eyes. I haven't watched the reaction in a minute, but it was just that moment of like, oh God. And it was this, like, again, that idea of that, you know, your anger or like a moment of weakness causes this issue. Now, not everybody that fights with their spouse gets into a car wreck, but it was just like he knew what he wanted to do cinematically. And it was the fact that it's like, I think that it's almost kind of like a beautiful tragedy in a way without the death. Like the video ends and we don't get any resolution.
Right.
And it's just this little chapter that we get. And I remember pulling up the reaction, seeing the thumbnail of him holding her in the grass, and you're like, well, this is fucking great. Like, we both were just not in the mood to feel sad, you know? So, but I was so happy to come out of that experience because it's something that I look back on and I know that he put his all into that. And it's just, man, a therapy session genuinely is what it should be. It is a very heavy album, and that's one that we still need to go through. We're going to be doing that one after Perception because I think it won on the poll.
Okay.
But nevertheless, is that we have a lot of ground still to cover on that, but still, like, what we got to hear out of that chapter of his releases was just, it truly was intense. Like, as he said, he's like, what did you expect with a therapy session? He's like, you thought this was going to be sunshines and rainbows and everything. Like, no, like this album is going to be hard, and it's going to be hard to get through. And there's something very poetic and very brave about that, where, you know, it's like, not everybody is willing to be as open as he is and to decide to write on the topics that he does. I mean, self-harm is something that is so important that should be talked about, and he faced it head on. And it's just cool, man. It's wild.
Well, I mean, the fact that he deals with so many things, as you just said, like head on, and he talks about it at every angle. Like you said before, like he leaves you no room to like breathe or escape because he's so spot on with everything. And the way he goes through like his emotions on an album, I think is cool. We've talked about that before where like you kind of get this like Debbie Downer, but then he brings you right back up and then he kind of plateaus for a minute and then it's like, all right, here's the end, you know, or whatever. And he's good at his pacing. So when you're good at all of those things, you become a fantastic artist. And I think the fact that he takes what he does so seriously makes a huge difference. The fact that Clouds was something that was just stuff that he was kind of sitting on and like whatever, but he
wasn't
was
even trying. Like it's like
but he was just like, I gotta give him something. You know, and like, dude, that's probably one of my favorite like albums / mixtapes. And it's just because of the stuff that he's doing, the songs that he has on there, the cadences, the features, like it was just all around solid for me. And that's where it's like hearing him grow has been really awesome. The funny thing is when I go back, so like, let's say, you know, I'll listen to a couple things on Hope other than like, oh, maybe a little bit of clarity as far as like some equipment that has been, you know, like upgraded over the years or something. If you go back, like if I go to Hope and listen to any song and then I go back to the real song, you know, 6-7 years ago, it doesn't sound like, oh yeah, this was early Nate.
Right.
This was early NF. No. Like he's been so strong with how he's done things and his beats. It's always sounded cohesive.
Right.
It's weird. Like hearing him grow, you didn't really hear him grow per se because he's always just been amazing.
Yes.
So his progression was just more of like, I guess maybe like the experiences we were going through.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't the fact that he just got better at it. He's always just been super polished. Practice makes perfect, but what I'm getting at is just the fact of it's not like that. I can go back and hear old Eminem and go, this is old Eminem.
Yes.
I don't know, but there's something about NF where like I at least think there is really no telling the difference.
Do you almost feel like NF is timeless? Like it's that no matter what, he can just like meld into your life no matter what album you pick up. Like it's, man, being timeless, I think, is the most important thing because being on the journey with him, the next album that we did or that we went through with the songs that were selected was Perception. And this is where intro 3 shows up. And we finally get this moment of, because what we did was that we listened to outro before we went into intro 3. And the way that Kay explained it was that she's like, no, she's like, this is like the culmination of everything that's led you here. This was technically between the albums, but it is an outro. It's this, it's that. And listening to intro 3, I think personally that is the time that I started to really pay more attention to Tommy Profitt's beats and like just like with this like the cinema and stuff, because we got a taste of it in The Search. But dude, just that entire song of intro 3 is so creepy and it is so just impactful. Like it's just like, what are you scared of me? That's embarrassing. Like it's like just this huge just moment of like your fear is completely in control and it's going to do everything to make sure it pulls every single scared fiber out of you. And the fact that he's saying the things that he's saying where it's like fear is pissed off, like, no, dude, we got a record to drop. Let's do this. Like, what do you,
I'm
like,
the reason we're here.
Right. And it's the fact that he buries his fear and now he's able to make Perception. So it's like he got rid of his fear. Now he's in the cage and it's like, but the keys are in his hands. And it's like this whole mental health thing, like everything that NF has done, like it's like all that being said with the timeless thing is that his vision has been so cohesive throughout this entire thing. And even in outro where he's like, we're only 3 records in it and it's just the beginning. Like he knows exactly every step that he is taking. And for him to know that that was the time to introduce fear and defeat him And it's like that, like, dude, it's
but
one
did
of the
he?
most, well, right. Yeah. Well, because even with Hope and like everything too. Yeah.
Because like, you know, now that we are a little more versed on him, you know, he was still dressed in black and, you know, all this stuff and had his burdens. I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe that wasn't always fear, but like now that with Hope and everything, it's like, well, did he really bury fear right there? Mm-hmm. I mean, probably not forever, because it's like he said, well, you know, you'll be out in a week, you know, wanting your room back and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's weird because that was the one. It kind of came through a few comments where people were like, "Whoa, you picked up on this being fear like really quick." Mm-hmm. We were paying attention, man. Like I don't know. I don't understand how sometimes like other reactors. I get that we miss things. We miss things all the time, guys.
Of course.
But the fact of if you were really listening and going through the journey correctly, it's like, whoa, this is like just the way he was talking to him before he said the words.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's got to be what this is, man. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Because it was almost kind of that, like, you know, the shoulder, the devil on your shoulder talking.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I took it. But then when he was like, yeah, I bet, you know, I buried him and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like we're going to maybe move past this. We're going to have uppity songs. And not that he doesn't have uppity songs, but it was just like, you think that's going to be gone and it's not.
Yeah.
Intro 3 is one of my favorite songs by NF. I listen to it a lot. You're right. The beat is creepy. It's weirdly in your face, but very, in my opinion, quote, simple.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot more into it than I think, but it's just like compared to everything else that you hear even by NF, it seems like a very simple put together song. And then it's these moments of
just these cinematic, just like, God.
And it impacts it that much more as far as like what he's saying and what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Tommy Profitt, I think, is one of the most talented music producers ever.
Yes.
Like that's not to be like there's no discussion on that. Like Dr. Dre,
yeah,
like Tommy Profitt, like, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. It's that's really incredible, man. Like the things that he can do with his keyboard and you know MIDI board and all this stuff, like it's incredible. But the things he does specifically with NF, and it's like because he knows how NF sounds and what people want to hear. Like you've said before, it's like this cinematic, like drawn up, like you build constantly. Like,
yeah,
that is, I think, what's the most intriguing. It's not this like slamming beat all the time that I'm so used to, like a trap beat or something like that. It's very different, and it just draws me in.
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, it's honestly, I loved it that Tommy Profitt actually posted like how he made the beat for Hope and like different things where he was like, he's like, this is my process. This is what I use. This is the packs I have. Like, it's, man, like he is such a, like, he has such a beautiful mind for music. Like, it baffles me when he was going into like, yeah, this is the chord progression we used and we did this. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that? That's genius.
Because you're not Tommy Profitt.
Right. It's like there is only one, you know? So
Yeah.
It's like, man, he just, God, I don't think that if NF chose another person to produce his music, if it would have, like, I think it would have gotten close, but I don't think it would have done what it did.
Yeah, man.
It's just like, so. Him and Tommy are just like, they're kind of almost like the Tim Burton and the Johnny Depp of like music or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, like if somebody were to tell me, man, they're making a Rugrats, like, you know, rap album or whatever, I'm like, dude, that's so dumb. That's the dumbest. Why would you even say that? And it's like Tommy Profitt's producing it. I'd be like, oh, hold on, let's hear him out.
Well, I guess I'll pre-order it now.
Yeah, right. So it's just, to me, I think that there's something beautiful about what he does and the two of them. And I think that Perception is really one of the more like darker albums because of the things, like, you know, things that happen in it, like, you know, Outkast, and then even like, my God, like Remember This, like that is a beat that's a beat that I've come back to so many times just because of like, I love it when Nate does that female vocal sound, but it's him, and
dude, that's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like there's been times where I'm like, wait, hold on, who featured? No, it's NF. Like, it's like they just like, Tommy knows exactly what he's doing, and NF knows exactly what he wants it to sound like. And it's incredible. When
we heard that, the fact of, nope, if there is no features named on the album at all or whatever it is, it's him. And I'm like, okay, like what? And then we're hearing this like quote female voice, and I'm like, no, how did they do this?
Right.
You know, and it's like you said, it's because Tommy knows what he's doing, and so does NF. Like, he has this vision, he has this thing, and if it doesn't work right, he's probably just like, hey, Tommy, can you do this? And he's like, yeah, man, give me 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, that's how I feel like it kind of like maybe works with them. But Tommy Profitt is just a genius. And I think when you have both of them in a room together, it's limitless what they can do.
Dude, I would love to be a fly on the wall. And just to see what their conversation is like. What's their like economy of words? Like, what do they say? Like, how do they decide on these certain things? It's like, okay, like I think Mick Gordon said it before, like whenever you're working with a company for the first time, is that when they're asking you like, hey, like let's make it heavy. Okay, well, what does heavy mean to you?
Correct.
Does that mean cinematic? Does this mean guitar riffs? Like whatever, like being able to understand that language that you use in a creative way. Like I think that they've just hit a synergy. Like, you know, I mean, they're friends. They I assume like hanging out with each other to begin with, like getting dinner or whatever. But like, it's just, man, they've done something so special. And the fact that all of their powers combined for that and Let You Down was on that record. And it's his biggest song that had come out at that point. I think it hit like 1 billion streams on Spotify or whatever.
I think so.
Which was, funnily enough, that was the song that you actually knew before we had jumped in. You'd be like, okay, no, I do recognize this chorus. And it was interesting, like, because I had never heard NF before. So
well,
it was
me
wild.
either, but it was the fact of, I had heard that, like I said, that chorus, like that, like maybe 8 seconds or like whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's what this is.
Right.
But even when I did hear it, ironically, I remember thinking, wow, this sounds different. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I think it was not only because it was NF and how he was like maybe like rapping or singing, but it was the beat.
Yeah.
It was Tommy. And it was like, that's like, I didn't know I was missing Tommy Profitt's music until I had it.
Right.
Like I needed that in my life. The way he does things, it does something, man. It does something to me. It really does.
Honestly, they're just special. Like it's like there are no two people on this planet that are like either of them. And man, going after Perception, I mean, because God, like even on Perception, we've got things like If You Want Love, which is just a very simple like acoustic track that is just very laid back, but it was kind of refreshing that we got a music video that didn't have NF. There was a story being told.
Yes.
And it was, dude, it gets me every time. Like, I'm just like, no.
Wasn't Wake Up kind of like that too?
It was.
Yeah.
He had like performance moments, but like they were showing like, which at first, when we first watched that one, I didn't get the point until I saw somebody else break it down. And I'm like, oh, this is what was happening or this or that. So like the video was still compelling, but I think that If You Want Love is really the moment that he just, because he said it before that he directs his videos with his co-director, which I've got his name, I'll look at it in a minute, but like we're gonna get into that. But I think that's just, dude, could you imagine being on a film set and NF is not in the video, he's directing it and he's saying, no, let's do this, or he's like, all right, give me this or whatever, and like, you know, getting everything done. Like that is probably one of his most beautiful music videos he's made. And especially too, I think that it really is the prerequisite of, if that's even a word, but like the prerequisite or the, you know, the beginning of truly what made Happy so impactful, because that's another video where it's not a performance. We get to see this young woman's life and what happened and everything. Like it's cool when you go back and you look at the things that have happened and you're like, okay, he was already thinking about this here of like, and like Outkast was like, I'm high off the music, my head's in the clouds. It's like Clouds was the mixtape. It's like, oh my God, like it's insane. Like he is always 4 steps ahead and
it's weird.
It's just, it's insane. And we come off of Perception to The Search, which is 18 songs. It is so long. There is so much NF on this record, and
you got a lot to say, man.
Dude, it's like, again, we keep having this mentality of like, dude, he's going to run out of content or he's going to run out of things to say. And it's like, nah, dude, I'm searching. Nah, dude, leave me alone. And it's like, you know, like, and it's, you know, and then talking about like, my God, our, like the reaction we did to Time, both of us barely even spoke through that thing because it was so close to home. And like him talking about like the song Nate, where he's talking to his younger self, like, yeah, you know how intoxicated people make us nervous. And like, he's like, I wish I could tell you things are going to get better. Like, he again just ripping his heart and these calluses open. Like the search gave him really no place to hide whatsoever. And it's just him finally opening up and being like, nah, man, like let you down, hit like, this much. I don't care. I was fucking miserable. I mean, he didn't say that, but I was fucking miserable.
Right.
I was the worst, the most depressed I've ever been in my life. And knowing that for somebody that does something to his caliber, and he can still feel that way, and then also still be real about it while he is successful, and then release another album that should have been his downfall. Him making all this money and then being the most depressed. He should have made some of the worst decisions that altered his life, and he didn't. The Search is, in my opinion, my favorite album. It is the best album he has made so far, even with Hope. I think Hope is like second or third for me right now.
Okay.
But The Search, dude, it's unless if when we finish Perception, that one takes over. But dude, The Search is, again, it's just special. Like there's so much on there about that. Like there is so much that he had to say, and it's like, no, he doesn't run out. Like it's insane.
He doesn't. And it's weird because I don't know that I can say I have a legit favorite album by him because I have so many favorite songs by him. It just depends on what mood I'm in. So no, do I listen to every single song that we've ever reacted to? No, I have my 6 or 8 or 10 favorites that I, constantly cycle through, but I know the other ones.
Yeah.
I remember what they are or what they made me feel like. It's still my favorite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's still my favorite. So it's hard, but when it comes to just, he had 18 songs on The Search. I dig stuff like that. You don't get gems like that all the time where it's like, whoa, he gave us 18 songs.
Yeah.
We're used to people kind of just being like, here's 10.
Right.
Here's 12.
Yeah.
And that's the norm now. And he was like, nah, man, I've got too much to say. This is what, my vision, because I've got so much more to go through. And that was probably the biggest gift to every NF fan. They're like, oh my God. Like,
right.
And like, what a time to be alive for an NF fan.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Well, it's especially too, like he does these 18 songs, pours his heart out and says some of the most intense stuff that he's ever said. My God, even like with a song called Hate Myself, like he's being as raw as he possibly can. And the thing that follows up between that and Clouds, which technically it is in the playlist for Clouds on Spotify, but we get Paid My Dues.
Yeah.
And dude, this is actually like I underestimated Nate, and this is actually something like I have wanted to talk about more in depth because I didn't want to take a reaction to talk about it. But for anybody that doesn't know, when we reacted to that song, we reacted to a lyric video, and I remember looking up Paid My Dues on YouTube, and now I remember I did see the thumbnail with the CD coming out of the toilet. And a part of me looked at that and I'm like, that's not real. And I scrolled past it because I was like, nah, dude, this article came out, and then like 2 weeks later or very soon after, he dropped this song.
Yeah.
And all this stuff happened. Like he came off of The Search with 18 songs, which by the way, he probably went in with 50 and narrowed it down.
Right.
And then an article that some jackass wrote because they were mad about whatever, where it's like, oh, like the Search got way more, exposure, but it's like, let's be honest, like it's just, it's a worthless, this and this, like it's just him, and Nate was just like, all right, you want to play? We're playing on my terms. It's like, I'll talk about you. I'll talk about this.
So the fact that he had a song that quickly in the video, you were probably like, there's no way that that kind of happened.
And especially too is that, dude, the Paid My Dues video is probably one of the coolest videos he's made because, dude, like when he's bench pressing, it's hard because they're all good, but like there's something about like that, woo, 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 like him like popping out,
yes,
and, like doing stuff.
I would say Paid My Dues, maybe Leave Me Alone, but I think Clouds is my favorite video.
See, every time I think I forget about that one. Yes,
I think Clouds is my favorite video. Lost is like a close second with that one. Not even just because of Hobson, it was just like visually stunning because of like where they were at.
Right.
There wasn't a whole lot of like different scenes and sets and stuff. Like they were just on the mountain, so like that was cool. But yeah, you're right. Paid My Dues. That video is fire.
Yeah, we have seen it. So yeah.
We've seen it. But no, it was good. But I understand what you think, where you're like, there's no way he did that. That's just probably some fan made thing with his arm up in the air, like with a CD. So that's funny that you're like, nah, scroll.
Yeah, dude, I felt like such an asshole because it was we released the video
and everybody's like, what's with the video?
Because somebody was like, yeah, dude, this is like the fastest he's rapped like before we get to Trust.
That fast.
No, it was good, but it was just.
I listened to Twista, y'all. It wasn't that fast.
So Trust, I think, is when everything really went off the rails as far as like how fast that he could go. But dude, it was just, man, Paid My Dues. Like the fact that the video starts and he's just swinging upside down, and it's like, you know, like he's also on a swing, like, you know, it's back to time to get back in the swing of things, and like he's bench pressing his burdens, and like it's just effortless for him. Like that was his, like, essentially the nicest way for him to give the middle finger.
Yeah.
And just him being like, nah, dude, he's like, we can talk. Go ahead. We'll play. Well, he's like, this is what I have to say. Like, it's like, and it's so cool, again, because he's 4 steps ahead that when he's like, yeah, because when he says the line of like, I talk to myself, and then the white closed Nate pops up and goes, hello. And it's like, wait, hold on. Whoa. That's Hope. Hope showed up and paid my dues. Like what is happening right? Like, now
he was always there a little bit.
Right. So in hindsight, we see it all, but at the time it was like, oh, there's just a different Nate. Makes sense. He has multiple personas, but it's like, nah, dude, that was important.
He's the GD Avengers of rap music.
Yeah, right. And especially too, is that even at the end of the Paid My Dues video, he still used it as a way to plug and promote Lost, which was the next thing he was making. So it's like, when did production on Lost start? Like, as a filmmaker, it blows my mind to think about somebody that not only produces the music that he does, but also the visual format that he puts out that is to just a ridiculous level. Just it's insane what he is able to do. The VFX that is in his in his videos. I want tutorials. I want to know how they did this. Like, I want to know like what they did. And it's like, there's also a piece of me that doesn't want to know, because I'm like, nah, man, this is just Nate. And it's like, it's just, I can just get lost in this. I don't need to know the man behind the curtain. You know, it's
right.
You know,
but
so.
there's also that fact of like, that's what you want to do for a living. That's what you do for a living. So you wanting to know those things, it's not you trying to spoil the magic. It's like, no, how did they do this? Because what if I need to do something like this in the future?
Right.
You know, what if I need a shot that has people driving cars at you on a real highway?
Yeah, right.
Like,
dude, fuck that video.
Bro.
Oh, no, the video was great, but dude, fuck trying to film. Like, the fact that he doesn't even flinch at all.
He trusts his crew.
Dude, it's the amount of trust you have to have.
No pun intended.
Right. So it's just, Clouds is just, it really is just a special just collection of songs. Like, I've made the joke before, where like, yeah, it's a mixtape. It's a fucking album. You know it's an album. Like, but in the same hand, it's like, nah, dude, like, the entity itself of Clouds is just so interesting, because that was like really the first thing people wanted us to react to. And everybody
was like, whoa.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Kay was like, well, that's at the end of the journey. So if you want to do this, like,
yeah.
And I'm happy we waited.
I know. It
was kind of like building to the Avengers in a way.
Yeah. Where people are like, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. You watch these 2 cool ones. Go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So
dude, it was so cool. And at that point, we basically were trying to hit leftovers, and eventually Hope did drop. And we got to see the other personas like completely just bleed out of him. We saw the mansion again, and just like the fact that it's like, man, like, because what I really wanted from Hope was a continuation of what happened in Lost, because Lost is such an interesting music video, because it almost kind of feels like it's this weird B plot that did happen. Like, because if you think about it, like from Nate, you know, going from intro 2 to intro 3, like, it's like, okay, like, you know, eventually he did end up in this cage, and then he opens the door, and now the search begins. So now he's out on this entire journey to try to find where he's supposed to go. And Cloud shows up, and we see him, you know, walking through all these situations of like, nah, dude, I'm just in the clouds. Like, I basically go anywhere that I want. Lost. He finds Hobson with the balloons, and as they're rapping and getting all of their venom out and doing everything that they're doing. And then at the end of the video, which was technically the end of the journey that we followed at that point, there is a collection of people that are buried in the snow that have a bunch of balloons. And there was a part of me that even though I enjoyed Hope, I really wanted a continuation of that. I'm like, what is happening here?
I think there's going to be, you know, in my opinion, he doesn't leave anything unanswered unless we just really overlooked something as far as like the album and to like maybe like finish all of that.
Right.
I really think because the darkness is still pulling through him, and he's uploaded photos of him in all black again.
Dude,
and
it looks so wicked. It's so good.
So like the fact that, you know, we now realize all of this stuff prior was that side of Nate, and not knowing that,
right,
you know, at the time, which I don't know how we didn't, because we kept going, everything's such a gray tone, you know, like all this stuff. Well, duh.
There was a big shift when Hope showed up.
Yeah.
Like, even the color grading was different.
So, right. Yeah. So the fact that, you know, with Lost, there is still something there. Like I will be very shocked, and not even just with Hobson, but like, because he doesn't usually like recycle features, from what I heard. But even if Hobson's not in it, I'm sure that there's something still there that he's going to continue on maybe down the road.
Right.
I don't know that he would leave something that big unanswered.
Yeah, it's there. I struggle with it because sometimes I'm okay with some things not being answered.
Of course,
like,
yeah.
But in the same hand is that it's like my first thought was, okay, like, are these the rest of the features that we're going to get? Like, there's a bunch of them. And it's like, is this how many albums he has planned? Again, this is my opinion. This is not anything that's been confirmed.
Oh, like how many people were there? Like,
right.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Ooh, that's interesting.
You know, from like the people saying, I think there was somebody that commented, or there was a reactor that said it, where they were like, you know, yeah, like he's carrying 7 balloons. It's like, you know, is this because, you know, one for every day of the week? Or
that's
whatever?
actually what I got.
Yeah, actually, here, let's change the camera. Show that.
Oh, I don't know if they can see it.
Yep. Yeah, so not everybody's from the reaction channel. I want to be sure they got to see that. Yeah, so if you're listening on Spotify, watch the video. But yeah, he's got the balloons, and one of them is red for Pennywise.
One is red for Pennywise, but when I told Sway that I wanted what I wanted, I was like, you know, I know this is a weird request, but I want some balloons. I want black balloons, and she was like, oh, okay. And we started talking, and she's like, well, what, you know, what's it for? And I explained it to her, and I'm like, they're my burdens. I'm like, you know, they can change, but I was like, I want 7. I want 1 for every day of the week. I wasn't even really paying attention to if that's what NF really has, like as far as a count, but that's just how I looked at it. Is like, it's always going to change. I'm going to have something,
right?
You know, so I carry them with me too. So
yeah, I think that the fact that we can even have these conversations about NF, where it's like, how much of the imagery, like how deep does it really go? Like, it's that whole red pill and blue pill thing where it's like, and you stay in Wonderland and you can see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah,
it's like, jumping into NF is one of the most intense things I think you can do as a human being, genuinely. Like, and especially too, because like getting into Hope is, watching that video was insane. It was just like, oh my God, like, you know, this, like, you know, he's finally taking the reins, and like the first time that we get to see Fear be afraid, like, no, and it's like, he's like, I'm taking the reins. And then we get straight into Motto, which is just, again, another beautifully respectable middle finger to the industry. And the fact that that music video was shot with pretty much just fans, except for the few people that were like, you know, that had
supposed
like
to be celebrities or whatever. Yeah,
sure. And it's, you know, so like, I mean, because there's been a few people that were like, nah, dude, like I showed up to set and he told me to get on camera, and he adjusted my tire, did this or did that. Like, it's insane. Like, we saw a little bit of that in Leave Me Alone, where it's like all the fans showed up.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
all that stuff. And like, even for the search, I don't know if those were fans that were in the background in the white clothes. I don't know if that's who they were, but
probably.
But either way, is that Hope was basically this culmination that we waited for so long, even though it wasn't that long compared to the people that had already known NF. Like, that this journey has felt like it's just been such a, like, bro, like, when is it coming out? Like, whatever. Like, we got past Clouds and we felt that way. You know, it's interesting. But
and we were the lucky ones that didn't have to wait for nothing.
Right. Well, it's because even Holden Hardman, he does the whole My Wife Watches. She had to wait the following week to watch Endgame, and he's like, oh, dude, get over it. We had to wait a year to watch this. You know? So it's
like, poor baby.
But it's just funny. It's like, wow, like, Hope did something that was very interesting, was that we knew that there was a song called Happy, and we knew that there was a song called Mama.
Yes.
And especially even on it's on Nate, where he's just like, he's like, skipped to track 4 on Therapy Session. Like, that's a really sad one. And we knew track 4 on Hope was Mama. And what I'm really curious about is, I know that we had expressed it in the reaction, but what was your personal waiting time knowing that this was coming? Like, because How Could You Leave Us is so devastating and it's so intense. Like, was Mama on your mind whenever you were like thinking of things? Like what was that like for you? Because I know for me, like, I was dreading it coming to it because I didn't know like what we were going to get. Yeah.
So when I found out that was one of the names on the CD, I'm like, okay, so we are going to go this route. We're going to do what, not in a bad way, but it's like, okay, what's going to happen? And I was legit scared.
Yeah.
I was terrified to hear what was going to come out of him, good or bad, which I knew it was going to be good, even if it was bad things, but like it was going to be a good song. And I dreaded it in like a good way, because I was just like, I know I'm going to come home from work. We're going to record this night or like whatever it is. And it's like, I just didn't want to be in like a bad mood, like just, oh my God, like,
I'm kind of okay right now. Like, it's like, don't ruin it.
But then it happened.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting there thinking, that was good. Like, that was good.
Yeah.
It was sad in a different way. It wasn't this like sob fest and I wanted to rip my heart out and all this stuff, because he did it in such a different way, and with forgiving his mom and like all this stuff, like it was done very beautifully. And yes. I was actually very happy at the end of it that I was like, you know what? I'm glad we did that.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where I was at with it. But yes, I dreaded it too, man.
Well, I think that what's interesting is that I think that Happy affected us more, because it's the idea where like that was kind of almost like the quote unquote like How Could You Leave Us of that album, because it's like when you think about the rest, like the rest of the stuff that happens, like Suffice, Pandemonium, and Turn My Back and Let Him Pray, like those are all songs that are basically just like, nah, dude, let me punch you in the face, and like the punch that's received is what is deserved and it's righteous. Like, it's like, nah, dude, like don't say we ever had a baby, it never happened, I never met you, like don't chase this. Like, and to think he was dealing with that shit on top of the fact that it's like
you will never get any hush money.
Right. And again, I only say this because it is public knowledge. It was on Twitter. Bridget did tweet about things and things like that. But like knowing that his wife went through the terrible postpartum depression that she did, and it's like that is something that as a man I cannot fathom. I cannot imagine what that is like after literally having like a life leave your body, and now it is your child. And it's like, and the fact that he softens that blow for her, where it's like the song Bullet, where it's like, nah, dude, like that scar on your stomach is perfection.
Yeah.
It's like, do not be ashamed of what you are. Like, it's like, I got you. Like, I'm here with you. You are my partner. You are my wife. You are my love. Like, and it's just like, Hope is such a different album for him, because it, in a way, like, yes, it quote unquote loses the edge of what we've gotten used to, but in the same hand, we get a new Nate that we've never seen before.
Yeah. It's weird.
And it's like that, like that realization of like getting back to Happy, when he's like that line that it hit every single reactor that I've watched. Excuse me. And it was just like, dude, like, I don't know who I would be if I was happy. Like, who thinks like that? Like, it's like when we really break it down, like, I mean, you've talked about it. I've talked about it. We've done podcasts that even on the old podcast on Kyle Wright 425, like, nah, dude, we are depressed all the time. And even that idea of like, nah, dude, something feels off even when I'm not, like, especially when I'm not depressed. Or when I'm not depressed, I feel like something like bad is going to happen because I've been so conditioned. And man, like that video was so good. It was just like watching this young woman go through what she did, and the fact that it's affected her life. Like, her mom was a drunk. Now she's a drunk. And it's like, that whole idea that you quote unquote are a product of your environment, but the fact that she rips herself out of it when she has her breakdown. And what does she want? She wants her mom, and she goes to her mom. And she, like, it's, so I don't know, like, what their conversation was. I mean, again, like, it's kind of like that whole Breakfast Club mentality. We only got this small section of life to watch this. And there was just something really powerful about that. Even like watching our buddy AJ, like, like his reaction, like, dude, he was a mess and he does no editing in his videos. And we even talked today and he was like, dude, he's like, I just turned off the camera and cried. He's like, I don't know why he affects me so much. And like watching these other reactors and stuff, like, dude, it's like Happy was ironically, I think, the saddest song on the entire record.
Oh yeah. I could agree.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing where we talked about, so like, even like AJ being like, he turned the camera off and just cried. We've had nights where we've talked about where it's like, we did not want to record. We didn't want to do this. And even when it was a hard song to get through, when I was done, when I was done for the night and we turned the cameras off for the entire night, I remember a few times being like, I had to have that happen. I had to. Like it without fail, the songs that we were going through or that we would be recording because of, the journey or whatever it was, excuse me, it always seemed to be the right song. It's like when you go to church after 6 years and the service is like directly every time. Yeah. It's like, it's something like that where it's like, how does he know, know? But yeah. Just like Eric Gonzalez said, is that he's going to change our life. We weren't ready for this. It had nothing to do with, we gained 80,000 subscribers. Don't give a shit about that that anymore. It's the fact of Nate gave us something personally as far as music. We love music so much that when somebody like him comes around, we treasure it.
Yes.
It's something, like you said, he's timeless. You can try to hate on him all you want, but the fact of the matter is he is amazing. He comes in your life when you need it, and he will always be there for you. Not necessarily as like the shoulder to cry on, but kind of, figuratively speaking, he is. You can throw on a record anytime and hang out with Nate and go through the things that you're going through, dude, and he's right there with you.
Yeah.
It's like having that big brother that is, like you didn't have.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. He helps so many people, including myself. When I have a bad day, NF is usually something that I listen to, whether it's something that is on the emotional side or I just need to hear something gangster. And that's weird to say because he's a clean rapper.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's the fucked up thing about it. Yeah. Sorry, Nate. But that's the irony behind it, is just the fact of he has done so much for me, regardless of a channel.
Yeah.
Take the channel out of it. He has done so much for me and for so many other people. I think we all know that that's the biggest reward for him.
100%.
Yep. He's got great money now and he doesn't have to look at a price tag and stuff. And that's great. And he can express that. And you know what? Good for him. And I'm glad he can tell us that. But that's not why he did it.
No.
Like, he doesn't care about that. It's just, he just so happened to be able to do that now. But he truly is just that voice for everybody. Like I've said before, like he is the voice for people that have none.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bad day when he stops rapping.
Well, as things move forward, we've seen theory videos of people saying of like, wait, is there another album coming? Or like, with some of the things, I mean, I'm not going to speak on that and say that it's true. I've seen some compelling things here and there, but I can say this, that for just like 100% without a doubt, as long as Nate is producing music, we're 100% going to dive in and we are going to listen to it. And we're always going to have that journey with you guys. And, man, like I know that there's going to be a lot of people that may click on this video that are just Nate fans or NF fans that have not followed us. And if you guys have stuck through this entire episode to this point, first off, thank you. Thank you for listening to what we have to say. Thank you for, just, getting to geek out with us, talk with us in the comments, all that stuff. Like, we love talking about NF. I'm a metalhead and I find myself more.
You're talking about a rapper right now.
Right. Yeah. Like, and it's not just like a surface level thing. Like there's a very big part of this that, especially in therapy session, when he talks about the fan that pulled him aside and was like, look, man, we've never met, but it feels like you know who I am.
Right.
And Nathan is a person, like not even just NF, but Nathan as a person, man, like I am under the full belief that he was 100% just like chosen by God and was put on this planet to do something incredible. And I think that he has done something amazing with what he has been given. And even though in the beginning it may have not felt like much, he is standing on a mountain of just the influence, the positivity, the raw, the real, everything that he has done with it. It's just, I see so much of just his realism come through, where it's like he has had his moments of like, whether it's in How Could You Leave Us, where he's like, nah, dude, I'm not going to say I've forgiven you because it hasn't happened.
Yes.
And it's like, or being like, nah, man, like I'm not happy. I'm not this, I'm not that. Like he has done nothing but just rip open his chest and say, look at it all. You can see everything. And guess what? I know you're dealing with it too. I can't be alone. I'm not the only one. And there is something that is just immovable. And I think that if more radio stations gave him a chance, and if there was a way to do it, like
they won't.
Like I know, and it's I mean, Let You Down did well because let's just face it, it's one of his best songs he's ever written.
I don't mean it's about cool, but it was one song.
Right.
That's what I mean. Right. Like cool, it was one song. They gave him one song. You know what? Screw you, man. Like this dude deserves way more radio play. Yes. This is the stuff that needs to be on the radio. Mm-hmm. It competes with anybody else and then some. Yep. That is on the top 40 list and the best rappers of today. All you dudes do was fucking mumble and auto-tune. So
Nate is doing something. Like he is just, I cannot wait for what he does next, but I know that my anticipation of what is next is able to be extinguished for a little while because I'm going to ride hope for a little while.
Same.
And it's just, it is nice to know that hope, it's something that I struggle with because hope is something that you have that may not turn out to be good. Mm. And I think that as weird as it is, as people have commented on videos and they've said things, there's a lot of comparison between NF and Ren. And I loved the moment that Ren said it in Hi Ren, where he's like, I go by many names also. Some people know me as Hope. And it's like, It's just like, and Nate just did nothing, like not that he took it from him or anything like that, but it's like, no, dude, there's this cohesive idea that is coming up in these, in these, I guess, underground or like, underdog rappers or these artists that are doing something, that they're making noise and they're making waves. And they're like, nah, dude, like I'm going to touch the world. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to touch the world.
You're going to know I was here.
And it's, to me, I feel like that is one of the more powerful things that you can do as an artist. And, I'm just going to put this out there as so it's on the internet, is that so Nate, if you do ever see this, we would love to interview you. We would love to talk to you. And if you're willing to give us a little bit of your time and talk to you, that'd be amazing.
Charge him $1 million.
Yeah, right, yes. We'll sell a kidney. We'll do something. Yeah. So no, but man,
I'll talk to my Swiss bank account, move some money around.
Yeah, yes. But no, man, that's really what we want to do with this channel, is that we want to be able to have real conversations with real people. And, so again, there's nothing that's like, oh, you have to, but man, like if there's ever a bug in your ear that you hear, where it's like, hey man, like if you got some time for the Cave Cast, we'd love to talk to you, and either way, like through this entire situation, we have gotten to know some incredible people.
Yes.
And even the few times that Tommy Profitt has jumped on and has said some really nice things and stuff. He's even jumped on lives. Like this community as a whole, NF fans and people that are a part of NF, we are all so like-minded.
Yep.
And it's like there's an understanding there that it's like, nah, dude, like we're standing for the right things. We want to see each other be victorious. I know this is hard. I know it fucking sucks right now. I know that you are fighting a battle that feels like you are going up a hill with no feet or hands. Like, it's just, dude, like Nate, I think, truly gives just, again, like with this hope thing, is that he now has transitioned everything, where he's dimmed the light for so long, but right now we've got a bright light. And what a beautiful thing to be able to kind of land on with him and see what's going to happen next. So either way, guys, we could talk about NF for hours. We're already pushing about an hour and 6 right now for the raw recording. So I think we're going to go ahead and end this here. We've had a really good conversation. So first and foremost, Eric, I want to thank you specifically for not only going through this journey with me, but being able to talk about it and have somebody to bounce off this cool shit off of, and just be able to dive in and just, again, like, you know, being able to be so vulnerable and do the things that we've done. And again, thank you all for watching. And if you guys have enjoyed this, please like the video, comment, and let us know what you want to see next. Yeah, I don't think there's anything crazy we need to do. We're just going to go ahead and sign off. So Eric, would you like to give your goodbyes?
Sure.
Give your goodbyes.
I'm not going to cheers out of respect to Nate. I want to hold my drink up, and sorry for cursing, buddy. So cheers.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Adios.